DDG episode 120. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? How's it going? I've been punishing myself with video games lately, but ready for this. Got my Starlight Coca-Cola ready. I'm just going to start mentioning Coca-Cola on this podcast frequently and hope they accidentally, like maybe they think that they sponsored us. If I say it enough, maybe that'll work. Let me just taste this.
I saw you tweet something out about that. I was like, what is he talking about?
Starlight. Tastes like space. There you go. Perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Other than shamelessly plugging Coke, we are Digital Days Gaming.
It's going to work.
We are a weekly podcast that posts every Thursday at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services. You can catch us on Twitch Tuesday evenings, anywhere between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. at night, depending on life and schedules. But it's been pretty consistently a Tuesday. So Tuesday nights on twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming. Where we are a Twitch affiliate, so if you have like Amazon Prime, you can link it with your Twitch account, get some cool free stuff, free games, as also free games, free bundles, benefits for gaming stuff, cosmetics, stuff like that, as well as a free Twitch subscription that you can use on us if you choose, or another streamer. So please, if you have Amazon Prime, don't let them keep the free $2.50 that they give to you.
Yeah, give it to us.
Yeah, so that'd be helpful. It doesn't auto renew. So you do need to interact every 30 days or so on Twitch to help us. We don't have to be live for you to subscribe. So if you're listening now and you have it linked and you want to check, you can just open Twitch and search us and just subscribe. We're not live. It's okay. So check that out, as well as considering leaving us a review. It's been a couple months since we got a review, so if anybody could maybe if you haven't left one or you get tired of me saying this, leave a review, and maybe I won't have to say it as much because there'll be a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything else that you need to know is linked in the show notes. You can check that stuff out to join the community on Facebook and Discord. Follow us on Twitter, Patreon, Teesprings. All that stuff is all linked in the show notes. And we're going to jump into the news.
Yeah, light news. Though the last one, I kind of just threw a bunch of stuff in there for Dave to see. Dave probably hasn't had a chance to look at our notes yet for the day. But the first one is a story out of Bloomberg that is saying that Call of Duty will possibly be skipping 2023. So according to Bloomberg, Activision Blizzard are not happy with the current state of the 2023 Call of Duty game, which is in development by Treyarch, the developers from Vanguard. And they are heavily considering just skipping 2023 altogether for that. Currently, Modern Warfare 2 from Infinity Ward is in the works and is still on track to be released this year, with a Warzone follow-up, Warzone 2, possibly being the thing that's going to serve as the 2023 game. It should be noted that Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard will close in 2023, which probably has a lot to do with them feeling comfortable with taking a year off. But Dave, we were talking about this could happen.
I'm cool with this. Neither one of us are big Call of Duty annual players. We dabble in it periodically. If we hear it's good, we'll pick it up. We'll play it for a week and then put it down. To be honest, that's very similar to what Michael and I are. But Assassin's Creed benefited from this tremendously, tremendously from taking a year off from the annualization. It's a lot of money to walk away from. That's the thing. But to your point, if Microsoft's deal is closed, then they have the financial stability to walk away from it for a year. If it means that they get to focus more on whatever the multiplayer is going to be for MW2, and also making Warzone the best possible experience to massively increase your player count for that anyways. It's always been fascinating to me of how Activision as a studio has been able to balance the continual seasons in Cold War and Modern Warfare, and as well as Warzone, and then the annualization. I get it, it's 3 different studios, but everybody has their hands on this stuff. These 3 studios are still talking to each other and they're speaking to each other, and I'm sure one studio is really good at long range weapons and one is really good at short. They all have their pros and cons. And they're all, even though it's 3 independent studios working on it, I'm sure that they're constantly talking to each other. Constantly.
Yeah, I mean, Raven's name always ends up on every game because they just end up, doing maps or doing something multiplayer related. this kind of makes the whole Bobby Kotick interview where he was talking about like looking at the roadmap for the future and being like shit, like, and which is why he then, answered Phil Spencer's call when Phil Spencer was like, "Hey, how about an acquisition?" It was because I'm assuming as the head of Activision Blizzard, he saw like, shit, we might have to skip a year. And can a company that has very stupidly put all of their eggs in one basket afford to skip a year?
Yeah, like games are like weird. Yeah, whether it's the pandemic or not the pandemic, like they're hard and they're expensive.
Yeah.
And then almost no matter what you do, the vocal minority just destroys you. It's happening right now with Destiny. It's happening with Elden Ring. It's happening with Horizon, like on purpose review bombing, and just not like there's using, like, I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but like there are plenty of things, like there are numerous things that Witch Queen has done very, very well. Like, I'm not going to go into like super details, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new things that were added that are okay or that are working perfectly as intended. And then there's like 1 or 2 things that the players are just like bashing people's heads over about.
But it's not even a lot of players. It's like a small amount of players that are just like, I'm dedicating Twitter accounts to this. And
right.
It's like,
and
okay.
it's in terms of like, and if it catches fire, it can destroy a game. Like, going all the way back to the Anthem thing, like, yeah, Anthem had its own problems, but on top of it, it was a huge topic of discussion because of the clout that BioWare had. If they bring out a Call of Duty that's not up to snuff, like, they're done. Like, done. Like,
yeah. No, and that's something that Activision, because a lot of their revenue is focused on one franchise, they can't afford. Like, even if Modern Warfare 2 comes out this year super successful, it'd be Vanguard, which is kind of a failure in their eyes. It was still the number one best-selling game of the year, but it was still a failure in their eyes. Modern Warfare 2 does well, but then if they have another failure after that, it's worrisome for them.
Well, and then how much of what's in Vanguard, how much of the systems and certain things that are in place in Vanguard are in this next game coming?
No, and that's usually what happens is you get like weird every other year sequels, basically.
No, but I meant like even like the systems, like how the multiplayer
Yeah.
functions, or whatever is like, I can't speak to it, but whatever is diminishing player engagement in Vanguard is probably part of the foundation of this 2023 game.
We saw this previously where like only certain Call of Duty games had like wall running in it, and some of the fans really hated it. So we're at a certain point, one of the studios are like, we don't have wall running, and then the community was like, oh shit, great. There could be those mechanics that people hated in Vanguard that are supposed to be in this one, and it's big enough that Activision is looking to step away from it. Obviously, they can only do this because of the Microsoft acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
If there was no Microsoft acquisition, it's out next year no matter what.
And
like, they can't take the risk.
How much trouble is this game in general, though? Because we've seen them go. This is again my opinion, but okay, like we don't really have at the time. We don't have time or want to make a campaign for Blops 4, so we're gonna release a game without a campaign, and it did well. Like it did. Like I don't think that the lack of the campaign hurt it. Like why couldn't they do that again? Like just say, you know what, just scrap the campaign. Like forget it. Like or we'll release it. Like, I'm actually surprised they've never done this, but we'll release it as part of, like, seasonal content where you get, like, 2 hours of story, like, every 90 days. Like,
yeah, we're probably close to them considering that now.
Right. So, but, like, with Black Ops 4, like, people were all up in arms about it, but then when the game came out and they found out that the multiplayer was decent, it was up to Call of Duty's snuff, they bought it.
Yeah, no, they just happen to find themselves in this instance where, like, they can afford to skip a year. Like, who probably can't afford to skip a year are they can afford it, but who are going to get hit the most by this is probably going to be like the brick and mortar stores, like the GameStops and stuff, the Targets, the Walmarts that kind of rely on Call of Duty bringing in.
First week in November sales will be fine. We got COD.
Yeah, no, but like that's when usually in the weekly ad, not that like many of us really look at weekly ads, but there's usually Call of Duty Doritos, Call of Duty Mountain Dew and shit. And, GameStop relies on,
beating last year and how you beat last year is the anniversary releases. Like,
yeah, and you hope that when you bring the Call of Duty bro in, that they need to buy other things, or they might pick up another game while they're there.
At the same time, their pro membership's probably through the roof in November. It's probably crazy in August and November when Madden and COD come out. Like,
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects that aspect of it, because we're talking about $1 billion franchise taking a year off.
It also gives a huge opportunity for somebody that's working on a game that maybe was slated for January, February, or March to come out in 2024. Like, they need to get into that November time slot.
Oh,
like they gotta get there.
I guarantee Andrew Wilson over at EA was telling the DICE people or whoever's in charge of Battlefield, take a year,
not no
take
more.
as long as you it's like, take as much time as you need, and then they find out Call of Duty skipping a year, and they're like, no, we need
but even then, like
a Battlefield.
At this point in time, DICE, redo BF4. Like, bring it up to next gen standards and fix some other quality of life stuff that's in that game. But arguably, Battlefield 4 is, like, it was a launch title on PS4 and Xbox One. Like, I think it's a 10-year window. Like, you put that thing on the next gen consoles and like, make it look crispier and shinier and prettier and run faster, and
Yeah, Battlefield, the rumors of they've been eyeing like free to play, but now with Call of Duty just missing a year potentially, they probably are just like, well, we can charge $60 for something,
right?
Like anything really.
But I think that it would be a great time for them to remaster BF4, and then, to your point, still take all time off to make 2043 or whatever it's going to be, and to make it figure out what the hell went wrong with 42.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a perfect time for one of the companies with a shooter to come out there and be like, okay, here we go. We're releasing something in the gap where Call of Duty should be, and then hope it catches fire. This is when, like, Ubisoft should probably look at Heartland and be like, okay, if we do one more year,
they better come out before that.
No, but like, this is now when you're in that drawing board of like,
can Division 3 hit November?
Yeah, where you look at your lineup of games, you're like, okay, maybe our free-to-play game does come out this year. Maybe it comes out next spring, because there's nothing that's going to kill it in November. Or you look at, Division 3 or something.
We launch it in spring and make sure it's fully functional, running the way we want it to, like in November.
That new IP that Bungie's been working on forever. Yeah. That sounds like a perfect time to release that next year, when there's no Call of Duty game. And then, just take that market share that's available. So there's going to be a lot of companies that are hopefully going to take advantage of this, and then they'll put pressure on Microsoft at that point to make sure the next Call of Duty hits. So exciting, kind of scary at the same time to see how this is going to affect like the entire industry.
Yeah, so that's cool.
We got an acquisition, since we love to talk about that. It's our favorite thing. Nintendo acquires SRD Company Limited, I believe is how you say that. So Nintendo has acquired a company that's worked exclusively with them for about 40 years. So this is a studio that has touched like every franchise over the last 40 years, but were never officially a part of Nintendo. The recent stuff they worked on was Game Builder Garage, Ring Fit Adventure, 1-2 Switch, and then again, like, they worked on a bunch of other stuff. This is basically lining up with Nintendo's plan to grow their development internally rather than outright acquiring outside talent. So this is kind of like a nice medium in between that, to where they're acquiring someone that they've been partners with for so long. So it's like they're making it official finally. This is kind of like Insomniac going with Sony, of like long working relationship, but it was never an official thing. But Nintendo's getting in on it.
Yeah, I mean, securing their Ring Fit team, I'm sure that they're helping, or are already, but we're helping with the Switch Sports, whatever it's called. Just because like Ring Fit did really, really well. And lots of people were using it, so like that's cool. So you never hear about money, but they're probably going to spend a decent amount. There's like 140 people on this staff. The funny thing with this is I wonder if this studio approached Nintendo as opposed to the other way around, in terms of this studio is just like, well, everyone else is being bought, and we've been working on we've only worked for you, but if we tell Tencent or something that like, hey, the people that made a couple different Mario games potentially are available and on the table,
But I wonder if Nintendo was like forced into this, or they just wanted to like make sure they acquired, you know, talent that works
Or
well
somebody
within
was
their
poking
system.
around at them already.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah,
they went to Nintendo and said, "Hey, like, just so you know, like, this is happening." And they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, what? No." Like,
yeah. Like Nintendo had to be reminded, like, wait, we don't own you already? Shit. Okay, let's just throw, tens of millions of dollars at you, or a couple hundred million at you to secure this. Nintendo, it was interesting. What I was reading it up on this is Nintendo like literally want to build upon their internal studios. Like they've been building more office space to like their headquarters just so they can have more developers working internally. So like Nintendo's doing a different approach to expansion compared to everyone else, to where they're just like, no, we're just going to hire people and from the ground up build them up into the perfect Nintendo employee, as opposed to just acquiring a studio that might work with it. Less controversy too, because was it Mercury Stream, the Metroid Dread studio? People are like, oh, they should acquire them, but there's been enough like workplace crunch issues over at that studio that Nintendo probably would want to stay away from making them an official Nintendo studio. So Nintendo doing what they can to bolster like their
portfolio.
Their portfolio, their roster of game developers. But let's move on to this just like crazy chunk of video game, TV show, and movie news that have just hit within the last week or two. So, as you're aware, we talked about it last week, and also Patreon, Dave and Angela talked about it. Uncharted was the #1 movie in the US for the second week in a row. It has made $226 million worldwide on a budget of $90 to $120 million. So there haven't been official talks about it, but I'm assuming this means this is now going to be a franchise.
Well, they've been referring to it as a franchise. They're talking about the Uncharted franchise. They're not just saying the Uncharted movie. But there is a whole bunch of stuff. Like Holland's been saying that he wants to take a break from acting in general. So
we'll see how that happens.
My wife mentioned it on the Patreon episode, but she's like, he probably signed a multi-movie-year deal with this, even if it doesn't turn into it. Like they've got him in some, not necessarily got him, like, but his contract probably has 2 or 3 potential movies in it for Nathan Drake or for Uncharted.
Yeah, it probably has like specific like financial milestones it needed to hit in order to unlock a sequel for him, and it doubling its budget already within 2 weeks probably
and it also means that he just gets paid, and then he gets paid more for doing it again. So like, we all know that money talks. So
and also like he wants to start like a family, but his significant other Zendaya is also like in prime of her career and stuff. So it's like they probably couldn't afford to push anything back a couple years, especially with this. So I don't think this is related to the avalanche of movie and TV show news, but I'm guessing seeing a video game movie top the charts 2 weeks in a row has put a lot of pressure for people to just grab whatever they can for adaptations. So the Twisted Metal series we've been talking about for a while, Peacock has officially picked it up. It's interesting though, when they announced it, they basically pitched the show as an action comedy starring Anthony Mackie. We didn't have any genre for it specifically, but based on Twisted Metal, I think me and Dave were kind of expecting it to be a little dark maybe or something, but hearing that it's being pitched as a comedy series kind of makes me a little bit more interested.
Anthony Mackie, remind me what I would know him
Falcon.
From. Okay, that's what I thought. And then Will Arnett, and then the Cobra Kai writer, which leads me to believe like, the Cobra Kai writer is kind of like a soap opera writer almost, like a heist. Like Cobra Kai has a lot of teen dramas. So like, I don't know what else he's
but
written,
it's not super. But it's not a super serious show, but it has elements of drama. It's not a comedic show, but it has like a sense of humor.
It has moments where you will laugh, but it's not something that you like. And I haven't watched the 3rd season yet, but it's not something that you will continuously laugh about. But it has the loop of like teasing you for the next episode, and then like small story points, as well as there's so many things going on in it of tying back to the original Karate Kid. But for the most part, I mean, the writing aspect, the Karate Kid tieback is, in my opinion, easy. Like they just reference the movie that already happened and that people know about. But the character development of hell, a Friday Night Lights style show, which is what it is. So,
Yeah.
Is super interesting.
Yeah, like Will Arnett aspect of it also like makes sense for the comedy reasons. Will Arnett, he's the voice of Lego Batman. If that helps you, Dave.
No, I know his name.
Okay. Okay, yeah, because
I'm a visual person, though. Okay,
I know that's why I immediately thought of something that you would have recognized his voice. But yeah, like I still don't know what to expect from this show, but hearing that they're looking at like the comedic aspects of the franchise, because it is a silly idea. I mean, it's like people throwing weapons on cars, and there's a killer ice cream truck driver.
What was the movie that like? It's older, I know that, but wasn't it like a Demolition Derby movie that had like a Max Payne, like?
There's a couple like that. It's a movie. It was originally a movie in the 70s, and then they made it in like the 2000s. There's actually a TV show too.
Yeah.
About,
but it had like the over the top cars and like the big spikes, the cars with like spikes sticking out of the tires and everything. Like,
yeah. I can't remember what it is, but I know exactly. It was like a mid 2000s. And
it had movies. I hate to say it like this, but it had that brown, grainy, like lighting look to it all the time. Like everything was always like in like.
Yeah.
Like,
the color palette was just like dirt.
Yeah.
For the most part. Yeah.
Tan.
That. I'm a little interested more in the Twisted Metal series than I was before.
I've never played the game, so like I would probably watch this show and be like, what the hell is going on? And I guess if there's enough comedy to it to where it wants me to like see what happens next, like I might continue watching it, but I don't know anything. Nor is there really any backstory to these characters that they could be referencing. Like, what's Sweet Tooth's origin story?
No, but that's literally, if you play the games, that's all they give you is backstory for individual characters, and then you go in this competition. The main story for the games,
Mad Max Fury Road.
So the main story is there's a guy named Calypso. He makes a competition to where people have to kill each other with vehicles, and the winner gets their wish granted because he's like a powerful being. Okay. And then you just have a bunch of people with personalities that match their cars. It's really stupid. If you look at the old cutscenes, like the PS1, PS2 stuff, it's very cheesy and corny. It isn't until they get to Black that it kind of gets a little edgelordy, like dark and gritty, but still stupid because of the premise. So it's changed over time from being like cheesy to like kind of dark, but still cheesy. So there's a lot they can do with this because there's not much to work with. They can just take it wherever they want, and as long as they have an ice cream truck clown, they fine. Nailed it. Yeah. For they're fine. All right, to continue this, HBO exec said The Last of Us won't be premiering until 2023 because the show is still in production and still shooting episodes, though they have completed a few episodes that they've seen, but because they're an exec, we can't take their word for on if they were like good or not. But 2023, which probably means the remake or factions will probably be even longer waits, because I'm assuming you'd want to line those two games up with the TV show.
Yeah.
At a certain point.
Sure. When I see a real trailer for this show, I'll be interested.
Yeah. Amazon has also signed first look deals with Disco Elysium, Life is Strange, and It Takes Two for TV show adaptations. I know, Dave, you liked It Takes Two. Do you think that could be a TV show? Because like Life is Strange totally makes sense. It was already an episodic game. Mm-hmm. Disco Elysium is like a detective story about people with problems, so that works. It Takes Two, do you think that would be a TV show that would be worth watching?
I don't know. Like,
can you picture it? Like that's
pretty like kind of hard hitting. Especially if you're married or you've been divorced and you play this game, it can hit hard. Or if you're a kid that
would you want to sit through a 10-episode run?
Yeah. So I mean, I think of the three that are mentioned here, it's probably the easiest to make as a television show because of like the art style and like just using the same, like talking to him about getting the assets and putting them into like a motion picture format, I guess. Like, I'm not sure how fast that happens from a video game, but the assets are there, and like, here's the animation engine we use, like, so, but if they tried to do like a real life adaptation of it, I think that'd be hard, just because of like some of the over the top nature of like what's going on, and at its core, it's like a cooperative game, so that's even harder, I think. So.
Yeah, that was the one that I would think, like, if they do with people live action, that would be the hardest because of where you kind of go in that game. Uh, but like Life is Strange, I feel like that would be just the easiest adaptation to do with people,
I'm sure
because
there's
it's just
more
like
storytelling to do in that universe too.
yeah, if they want to drag it out or make it an anthology where each season is a different group of people, they could totally get away with that. Um, Speaking of Amazon, Amazon has finally cast someone in their Fallout TV show. They cast Walter Goggins. He's from Justified and The Righteous Gemstones. Really good actor. They did not say what role he's going to play, but at least it's showing that they're getting like a top tier TV actor to be in this TV show. But we have no idea when to expect this Fallout TV show. This also would probably work as an anthology where each season you spend on a different vault as opposed to following one specific character. But we'll see where that goes, because there's like 5 or 6 Fallout games that they can work with in terms of telling a story. So we'll see how that goes. And then the last bit of TV news, the Halo series has been renewed for season 2 ahead of its season 1 premiere from Paramount Plus. So I guess the Halo show must be good enough that they're willing to double down and do another season.
How do they know?
Kind of risky.
Like, yeah, how do they know? I mean, unless they're seeing an increase in subscriptions from the announcement of the Halo show. Like, that's the only
Yeah, they
thing
must
I
have
can think.
focused.
I know it had some
Yeah,
huge
or they
advertisement.
focus tested it to hell.
Yeah, I mean, I know they had some huge advertisements, like during the Super Bowl. Like there were, or during like AFC or NFC Championship, they were showing like the trailer, whichever one was on CBS, because it's Paramount, right? Correct? Yeah. So whichever one was on CBS, like they're, so if they're seeing return on investment already because of that, or yeah, I guess to your point, if like whatever focus group they're using says, hey, this is what we think it's going to do, and they're usually within 80% of the time frame they're correct, then I don't know. Like, yeah.
Seems super risky.
Yeah.
Usually Netflix doesn't renew until like a day or two after it premiered, and they look at like the raw numbers and are like, oh, engagement's up this much. But for the Halo series to go with a season 2 already seems kind of risky. But there's also like, if you just look at the list of news that I put up there, there's obviously a war for just gobbling up IPs to have content on your streaming service.
It's the next thing to focus on right now. Like, for whatever reason, they can't. Like we've talked about for years. Like, video game companies have a hard time coming up with new, creative, interesting IPs that people will purchase and not put them out of business. Television is also having the same problem with coming out with something new and creative and cool. So, like, now, how do they get more people to engage with their services? Oh, let's try the video game hook. Like it used to be, let's try the sports hook for a while, and that was working, but then it plateaued. And let's try the, I don't even know what it is. Let's try the Monday night sitcom show, or let's try the Monday night medical crime drama, And now it's like, okay, like let's go after this, like whether, especially with Amazon, like maybe they're seeing crazy engagement with their Twitch data on certain things, and they're like, hey, like, like this is happening. Like, this is probably something you don't follow as much either, but like I didn't realize this. Like, Amazon has an NFL contract next year, like an exclusive NFL contract for like Thursday nights, and there's a war of talking heads right now. Like Troy Aikman's a free, like like his contract was up. Al Michaels, like all this stuff is going on, and they were trying to get the Rams head coach Sean McVay, and they were going to give him like 5 years, $100 million to be on to be on television on Twitch.
There's a yeah. There's a crazy content war right now, which makes me think, like, I know it's not totally realistic, but there's a chance Paramount Plus executives were in the bids for Life is Strange, It Takes Two, Fallout, and Last of Us, and they lost out on all of those, and they're just like, shit, okay, renew Halo for a second season.
Right.
Like, because they missed out on all this stuff. Because it seems like we're even hearing, Kenna has a deal, right? Kenna Bridge of Spirits. I feel like they announced like they had a deal kind of around development. There was a game that came out
Yeah, I'm
recently
not
that
sure. Well, I
they
mean,
were already
the
talking
Destiny
about.
aspect of it as well, of like all the like the comic
Yeah,
book lore and the like telling different stories of like what they want to do, like a movie or a TV show. And then to your point, all this stuff is happening, and Sony is sitting over there going, like Angela and I talked about on the Patreon episode, like the movie was in development hell. Like it was, you were constantly
Uncharted
every
was,
month,
yeah.
every couple months saying different director, different casting change, different, and then it comes out and it's fine. And not only is it fine, it's not like it's not going to win an Emmy or a Golden Globe or any of that stuff or like a film award, but it's making a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, in January too, and not even a summer release.
Like I'll be really curious to see what the Batman does this weekend that's out. Like, and that's like is the Batman gonna beat Uncharted? Like that's interesting because that's a valid debate right now.
No, I don't think so at all. Batman just alone will kill.
I hope it
Uncharted.
does, but I'm saying like if it doesn't, like that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, so.
I mean, Batman is Batman. Don't get me wrong. Like it's probably gonna just pound it and kick it and punt it. But if for some reason Batman struggles, and Uncharted is like the thing that continues to be in the top 3 of the box office, like 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks after launch, like you're gonna see more of this stuff.
Yeah, well, I think Uncharted should be fine competition-wise. Like, Batman will kill it because I think Uncharted, its first week made about 40 million. Its second week made about 20 million, 26 million. So Batman will definitely... Yeah, Batman will definitely easily top the Uncharted numbers for this month. But, like, Uncharted will be probably number 2 for the next couple weeks until, mid-March or April, unless Spider-Man has another resurgence.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Because right now I think Uncharted's 1 and then Spider-Man's number 3. So Tom Holland's 1 and 3 in the U.S. box office. But Uncharted has a possibility of sticking around in the top 10 for several weeks, which is something I don't think many people expected. I don't think anyone expected it to be number 1 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think people expected this thing to be like on some type of streaming service by Memorial Day. Yeah,
and now they can probably hang on to it a little bit longer because the competition's
or they're going to sell to a streaming service and get paid twice or 3 times what they were going to get paid.
Yeah, which is what Sony's been kind of thriving off of the last, throughout the pandemic. While everyone's in these content wars, Sony's just been selling movies individually to like Apple and HBO. So Sony's looking really good. And, that's part of the reason, that's part of what they pitched Bungie when they acquired them is like, hey, movies, TV shows, we got that covered, and Bungie was super excited about that.
Well, and it's like they're not attached to something like
mm-hmm.
a Netflix deal. Okay, you're attached to Netflix. An Amazon deal, you're attached to Amazon. Sony's kind of like this big independent. They can, what? Yeah, we're not getting enough bids of what we really want. We'll just produce it ourselves. Like,
mm-hmm.
Okay, now you came with a real bid. Okay, you can have it, and they win both ways. Because they don't have a streaming service to stick it to. They don't have an exclusive contract with Hulu or Netflix or HBO Max. It's just like, okay, all right, so we're thinking about putting Uncharted on a streaming service. Why don't you guys put some numbers on a board?
Yeah, they're in a power right now, and they also have a pretty big catalog of games that they can work
mm-hmm.
with. I'm guessing Bungie is probably, especially after Sony walks away from Uncharted being number 1 in the last 2 weeks, I'm sure Sony Pictures is going to go to Sony PlayStation Studios and be like, what else you got? Give us more. And then I'm sure there's a hierarchy of like, okay, yeah, so we got this God of War thing. It'll be a really good TV show. Bungie has some ideas, and then they just have like a full list of stuff. I mean, we haven't even gotten into like, I'm sure Sony regrets doing the Ratchet and Clank movie a couple years ago because now we're in a point where they could probably really do a Ratchet and Clank movie and it'll be really successful. So maybe we'll get a Sly Cooper thing sooner or later, and kind of like walk away from Ratchet and Clank, give a little more breathing room between Ratchet and Clank movie attempts. But yeah, we're probably going to see way more news about this, especially that Mario movie's coming out this year, and that's going to be huge.
It's just with the voice actors.
Yeah, as much as it's questionable with like big names.
I'm gonna go see it. Like,
I'm gonna go see it too.
And
like,
Owen's gonna probably go with me. So like,
There's already rumors that they're gonna just immediately start making a Donkey Kong movie. So get ready for a solo Seth Rogen Donkey Kong movie. So we're gonna get so many video game adaptations. It's gonna be bad.
well, apparently
It's gonna be
the
so
Uncharted
bad.
director wants to do Jack
Jack
and
and Dexter.
Daxter. Yeah, sorry.
Tom Holland wants to do it as well. So I maybe Tom Holland can voice Daxter. I don't know if he can voice
Yeah.
Jack, but we'll see what happens with that. But that's all I got for news.
All right. Yeah, so far nothing delayed. Part of the reason I think that like news is super late as it is right now is because everybody's playing video games this month. Between like Dying Light,
Good
Horizon, and Elden Ring, and Destiny, and something else is coming out too. Either out or is what's the other Amazon's game that came out on Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And like that's just killing things too. So it's or killing numbers, and so there's a lot of stuff to play. So. But nothing has been delayed either because everybody's playing games. They'll delay it after they stop playing their games. So what we're playing and watching. All right. Obviously, it's Witch Queen for me. Destiny 2 Witch Queen. And I'm not the only one that's saying this, but this is probably the best campaign that Bungie has ever done. Like,
yeah,
people are saying it better
from an
than
outside
Halo.
perspective.
Yeah.
I've seen the least amount of complaints from
Yeah.
this expansion. And people saying this is the best expansion since like Destiny 1 expansion era.
Taken King, yeah.
Taken King.
It's probably very highly close to the best first-person shooter campaign. Like in terms of like the way it was handled with the legendary option, as well as just the normal option. The like to something that Michael's been harping on for a long time is like the intricate part of Destiny's story has always been not in the game, and it's in the game now. Like there's lots of dialogue, there's lots of conversations that are happening. The Guardian, your player, is talking more than he ever has talked before. There was just this thing going on, and like if you're not like super into into Destiny's story and lore, you might not understand everything, but the foundation is there. And Savathun, who's the main enemy in this game that you're going after, she's been hinted at since the Taken King. She's Oryx's sister, and so there's just a lot of stuff like the Throne World. I haven't streamed it, partially because I didn't really want to spoil anything for anybody that was watching, because it actually was stuff to spoil, which has not been typical with Destiny, by the way. But like the Throne World, like the new destination you got looks amazing. All the weapons that they've added, the activities that you can do, and then on top of it, they've kind of eliminated the power grind, like the level up grind. It kind of just it happens very organically. To where like I'm pretty much at max base power after a week, and some people are like, well, that's kind of sucky. Like, yes, first of all, let's clear something up. I played it a shit ton. And but I only played one character. I know I mentioned last week about playing like multiple characters. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do that, partially because I used to use the other characters to help boost my main character, and now that like I'm kind of at base max power, like I'm content. Like I might go back and use my other characters if somebody like hasn't played it yet. Like I know like Kyle, he picked it back up, but he's been playing Horizon, so if he wants to play it, I can probably play the campaign with him, and run another character through. But I don't need those other two characters anymore. So that, like at this point in time, like this morning I played briefly and I got the last drop I needed before like the reset before I went to work. To put me at this level to where like I can, like that part is that stress or that thought is over, and I can do what I want in the game when I want, or I can do it just because it's fun and not like, oh, I gotta go do 3 things of this because I need this drop. I don't need that drop anymore, and the raid's not even out yet. Like
when is that coming?
The 5th. Yeah, so this Saturday.
Okay.
So and then on top of it, like some of the stuff that they changed all the void, like the void purple subclasses in the game to where there's different things and you're kind of messing with those, and seeing all the content creators bring builds out and how ways to get weapons and like just this is the time when Destiny's like kind of at its coolest and most fun because so many people are messing with and doing things. Are they going to walk away in a month or 6 weeks? Probably. Will they be back at the beginning of the next season? Probably. But it held. Like, I saw Steam's numbers for last week, and it was like the top 6 numbers were Elden Ring and Witch Queen. Like different versions of Witch Queen, different versions of Elden Ring. So like I don't know the concurrent player base number, but it's good. If you're on the fence about it or not thinking and you're worried about getting into Destiny like at all, or if you've heard me talk about it for years and you're like, hey, I'm thinking about checking it out. This is the easiest entry point level that they have ever given in this game. Like, period. It's still a super confusing game. You'll still feel overwhelmed, and you'll still need somebody to kind of show you and help you with certain things. But to play the game and to play the campaign, and if you logged in or if you bought the Witch Queen just to play the campaign and you walk away, you're getting more than $40 worth of content, and then there's so much more that's there. So, I don't really want to bore anybody else with like massive details. the negatives that people are harping on right now is the crafting system is like making your own weapons is kind of a pain in the ass, which I wasn't really relying on it too much, like in terms of like I felt like that was something that they were doing. They were hopefully, like, I think the initial goal was to eliminate like weapon bloat, like having like keeping 6 of the same weapon because it was different roles, and we all thought like, oh, I can craft one weapon and then I can unlock all the perks that I want on it or that they make available on it, and I can switch on those perks on demand. No, that's not the case. But I also feel like this is kind of in the beta. There's like only like 25 weapons that you can craft. Like, they nailed the throne world. They nailed the story. I have full confidence that the raid is going to be great. And the seasonal content they're layering in there as well is good so far. I haven't really had a chance to mess with it as much as or at all because I've been doing some of the other stuff. But this crafting thing is kind of like in its infancy. Like the game.
Do you think that's the future of Destiny? Is crafting weapons?
Yes, I think, but you still have to get like, so it's really weird. Okay, so you have to get the weapons, like okay, I don't even know what the name of it is, but let's say you want to craft a void submachine gun. Okay, so you have to get the submachine gun to drop anywhere from 2 to 5 times with a special red border around it, which is called like deep sight reconnaissance. Then you have to use that gun to level it up enough to like get enough kills or complete activities with it to where you unlock the deep sight mechanic, and then you extract materials from that. Okay, and then you have to do that. Typically, like I said, you have to get another one to drop anywhere from 2 to 5 times and do that to get the pattern unlocked.
They went full MMO with this.
Yeah. Once the pattern is unlocked, you can then craft it. But then in order to get other deeper perks, like better perks within the gun, you have to level your crafted gun up to like a level 7 or a level 10 or level 12, so which means you have to use it, get kills, complete activities, level it up to 5, level it up to 8, level it up to 7 or 10. There's a time commitment to it of keeping you playing the game and keeping that weapon equipped, and then you can then you can get your like really great tiered. It's still under your really great tier weapon. It's still under Bungie's control because they're controlling which perks are on which weapon. Like, you can't just make the ultimate weapon like I can't make my submachine gun shoot rockets. But there are like, and then there's enhanced traits and enhanced perks that they're doing. There's huge commitment there, and there's also, like you said, like the MMO style of it. Like, when you craft the weapon, your weapon on your screen has a born on date. Like, it tells you the day you crafted it. It tells you how many things you killed with it. What level you have.
So they're finally living up to that thing when they pitched Destiny 1 of like, you have a story behind this gun.
This is my gun. I've had this gun for 7 months. I have 7,000 kills on it. I made it on December 12th.
So it took them 8 years to kind of accomplish that.
But it's only within that realm. There's only currently like 22 weapons. 22 or 25 weapons you can do that with. It's like 1 auto rifle, 2 rocket launchers, 2 pulse rifles, and then the other thing, they added the glaive, which is like a sword, a projectile sword that also like you can just beat the hell out of stuff with. Like, so there's a guy in the clan that he's just glaives everything. So But no, I mean, like it's great. And again, the best part of Destiny is like seeing the like I always have this group of whatever 15 or 20 people that are regularly playing the game, maybe 12 to 17. I don't even know what it is. But to see like my friends list have like multiple pages of people, or to see people playing that haven't played in a year, like yeah, okay, like, and it's okay to walk away. Like have fun, play your games, do what you want to do. It's there, and it's always going to be there. So, but it's good. So. That's it.
So has there been anything else, or is
no? I've
Destiny
been watching.
2
I've been
been
watching
killing
Kim's
everything?
Convenience. I had, like I said, I had Tuesday and Wednesday off. That was a lot of Destiny. And then I worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I was off on Sunday. So, yeah, not a whole lot. Just Destiny. So.
All right. For me, the week started with some Dying Light 2. Still getting into that. It's a pretty enjoyable game, but it is one of those massive open games where you look at your map and you're almost overwhelmed with all the different things that you could do on that map. And it's pretty polished on PC. Like it's still got those like open world bugs that you see. I don't know about the console versions. I know there have been some problems with it. But Dying Light 2 is a competent open world zombie game where there's a bunch of stuff for you to explore. There's a lot of zombies to kill, and there's just a ton of stuff to do.
There's a ton of content, and there's plenty of people in the community who've been playing that game for a lot.
yeah, and it gets kind of overwhelming, especially because I look at the map.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm getting the opposite experience in terms of open world design with the game that the hype just got to me, which is Elden Ring. Like, after hearing the reviews, I was just like, okay, I need to try this out. And Elden Ring, big open world, a map that is, you see visually when you're walking around the world, you see there's a ton of stuff you can go to. There's enemies in like little nooks and crannies. But when you pull up the mini map, nothing. There's like, the game tells you absolutely nothing. And it is a truly open world game. In terms of, once you get out of like you open the doors to the big area and the first boss kills you like it's supposed to in every Souls game, you could just go anywhere. And it's a gorgeous game to look at. And the fact that you can stumble into some bosses that you probably shouldn't, and the game gives you absolutely no direction on where you should go.
Typically, the Souls games have been somewhat linear, right?
Yeah, you've always kind of
point A,
like they've
point
always
B, point C, point D.
Yeah, like they get a little open with the Dark Souls games, but it's like a hub world where it's like you have a center that you always go to, and then you branch off into different areas.
Yeah, like
this one, it's just
or whatever.
Yeah, this one is just like, all right, we're done explaining things to you. Go. Do you want to go to those mountains? Cool, go there.
Here's how you punch. Okay, walk out the door.
Yeah, and it gets to those parts where you're just like, okay, I have no idea what any of the mechanics are. The game kind of explains somehow how the menus work, but in terms of like what you're supposed to do and what direction you should go in, the game is just like, no, this is an open world experience. Go where you want to go. If you get in trouble, tough
this
shit.
Is everybody that's like, I want video games to stop holding my hand. Okay, well, we're gonna fully let go and just let you go. Wait. Like,
yeah, it's the thing that like I remember people complaining about Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild was very much like you could fuck around and where you can fuck around and you're just like, oh, I met the third boss, the first boss I interacted with, or you can just stumble into things that you probably aren't ready for. And Elden Ring is that experience, but it's also a From Software game, so everything is. I don't want to use the word difficult because a lot of times it's not difficult. It's just a matter of just accepting that you will die sometimes, just to learn how a enemy works.
To understand a pattern or understand an attack, you can't understand it till you see it.
Yeah,
and seeing it could kill you. It will kill you.
Yeah. Like for my experience with Dying Light 2, it's for the most part, it's just like, okay, they're zombies. I just push away, do what I can, or I just run away. But like Elden Ring, it's just like, you'll see stuff and like you don't want to approach things every time. Sometimes you'll just see a boss or an enemy that looks gigantic, and you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna walk around them because I don't know if I should face them yet. I have no idea how I'm going to get new armor just yet. Like you're just like, I'm kind of just wandering around, and if I see someone,
t-shirt, shorts, and a flip flop, I need a I need a helmet. Like,
yeah, no, and there's been some times where I'm just like, shit. I think there's those people by the campfire. They're probably bad guys, and I'm like sneaking around them, getting ready to kill them, and it's like, oh no, those are NPCs that are like friendly and are gonna like sell stuff to me. Let me talk to them. Thank God I didn't kill them, because then
can you
I would
kill
be
them?
screwed. If it's like any other Dark Souls game, yes, you can kill important NPCs, and then you kind of work yourself into a corner.
The feedback I've been seeing too is everybody saying that this is like the most approachable Souls game.
It is and it isn't. Like honestly, like I don't know if it's most approachable at a certain point. It seems like it because it's open world, so previous like From Software games, because of the linearity of it, you kind of have to just work your way through stuff. Like in previous Souls games, you have to beat this boss to move the game forward. In this one, it's just like you, since it's open, it's just do what you want. Like you want to move forward, but this boss is in your way. I don't know, maybe find a different angle around the situation and then move from there. So it's a little bit more dense in terms of the lack of explaining is just how From Software does stuff, but like the openness of it, kind of get what you want from it. But I'm enjoying right now, in my first couple hours, of just like avoiding conflict and just exploring the world, trying to open up what I can on the map, because there's like different little.
This is a 500-hour game though.
Yeah, because you want to play it safe, or at least for me. And a couple of my friends that are like deep into Dark Souls and Demon Souls, that's the Souls games, that's how they're kind of playing this one too, just because there isn't a lot that's explained in this, and it does feel like a different experience if you're used to those games from Software, because it kind of changes everything. I will say, like, I'm playing on PS5. Frame rate is okay. It is choppy when you're in like big open fields and you spin the camera real fast. It gets kind of like nauseating. But when you're in like actual close combat, you aim the camera down sort of to where you're just focusing on the ground and your opponent. Frame rate's smooth, super good. It's when you pull the camera back a little bit and spin it around that it's just a little rough. There is a performance mode.
I've heard like PCs having some major issues with it.
PC's like super busted right now. Yeah. So like I think the PlayStation version is the best one to play right now. I just hope they can tighten up the frame rate, because the game is gorgeous. Like I love like the character designs. The world is super interesting when you first go into it, and you just see a big golden tree way in the background, and then there's just like a bunch of stuff just like drawing your attention. So from a visual standpoint, it's really interesting, especially coming from the studio. Nice. So I'm really enjoying it. I feel bad because like Dying Light 2 is a good game, but Dying Light 2 was buried by Horizon, and now Elden Ring is burying it as well. I also feel bad kind of for Horizon 2, because it's kind of ending up in the same spot it did with the first one. It's
not being talked about right now. Like it's just
because
like I still see
Zelda
people talking
came out
about
a couple
Dying
weeks.
Light. I still see people talking about Elden Ring. Obviously, I see a ton of people talking about Witch Queen, but I'm not seeing as much chatter about Horizon. You see the thing here or there of like somebody's like, I've completed the game, and but even I've got a handful of Destiny players that started Horizon and they've paused it for now, and they're focused on Destiny for a little while, and then they'll pick it back up. I'm glad, based on some of the feedback that I've heard from people, that I didn't start Horizon Forbidden West, because it seems like it's massive. It sounds like it's beautiful. It sounds like it's massive. It sounds like the story is fantastic, and the game deserves tons of praise. But something, I'm sure it's. I mean, I don't know how well it's sold, because usually by now Sony says something.
I think it sold pretty well. I imagine because the first Horizon sold 20 million copies eventually. So I'm assuming Horizon's fine. But in terms of like the amount of people now talking about Elden Ring that were either
Mm-hmm.
talking about getting Horizon or had started Horizon seems to have completely shifted.
Yeah.
To where Horizon.
Well, and then let's be honest and be truthful when we're talking about this, whether the PC is having some issues and stuff like that, but you're talking about a console exclusive game versus Elden Ring. It's not everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, like in terms of like what I mean for everything. So there's going to be a lot more chatter around it because there's a huge player base. And between, like, I don't think we'll ever do it, but I would love to see Elden Ring's numbers, like, because like they're probably.
I think
phenomenal.
We will because it's yeah. It's a matter
crazy.
of will we see Horizon.
People can make projections on them because of Steam concurrent players, and then kind of even be tentative about that. I think you can see Xbox players too, like in terms of like engagement. PlayStation doesn't really have a tracking thing.
Yeah, but though I did see some percentages that like the Elden Ring might have like 70% of the player base on PlayStation, just because it's always been associated with PlayStation,
which is crazy because
as a friend.
Yeah.
So. And just like you with Witch Queen, my friend list when Elden Ring came out, it was like 90% Elden Ring, 5% Horizon, and then like 5% Witch Queen. To where those are the only games people on my friend list were playing, and I haven't seen that since like God of War came out. Where like
you got a majority, you got a 7-day window where Horizon, Witch Queen, and Elden Ring came out, like within that Friday to Friday. You got Horizon, Witch Queen, Elden Ring. Randy, who's somebody I play with, he's got tons of hours into Dying Light. He started Horizon. He hit some kind of progression bug glitch that he lost like 6 hours, but it bothered him, but it didn't bother him because he was enjoying it so much. He's been messing with Destiny a little bit. Elden Ring showed up. He's like, oh, I forgot that came out. He actually like returned Elden Ring because he's like, I can't do it. I'll buy it when it's on sale. Like, I can't do it.
Well, the funny thing is, like, we're talking about these games, and I don't think any of them are going to suffer sales-wise. No. They're only going to suffer word of mouth.
Yeah.
Like in terms of what is Twitter and Facebook talking about? Because Horizon, great game. Elden Ring, great game. Witch Queen, great. And then Dying Light is like okay to good. But like, I don't think any of them are going to suffer sales-wise because they do fit different needs. The only thing they're going to suffer is who's trending. And Elden Ring right now is going to win that because it's the last one out. Right. So,
and then also people were kind of at the point where they felt okay with walking away from Witch Queen for a little bit after playing it for 3 or 4 days to play Elden Ring. But they wanted to get that part done with the live service when all their friends are there. And then, then they can kind of circle back and do some stuff. And then Horizon, Elden Ring has co-op? ?
It has multiplayer, so it's a Souls game to where you join the game and you're either online or offline. If you're online, people can hop into your world and you can hop into other people's world. So it has that aspect. Though I will say, if you do play online and you have no intention of messing with other people's games or having people drop into your games, you might as well play it offline, because if the server ever has a hiccup, it will kick you to the main menu and then you have to switch to offline mode, which did happen to me twice this weekend.
Yeah.
And as someone who plays solo, I should have just went offline from the start, so I didn't have to deal with the annoyance. Luckily, it saves your spot, and it wasn't that big a deal, but it was a little annoying.
Right. But I just feel like Horizon is in its own independent floating bubble right now because it's its own game. Like, it doesn't. Yeah. You don't need to have somebody play it with you. Yeah. Like, it's always going to be there. So.
Yeah. That is really it for me. It was just that and Elden Ring. Nothing else.
All right. So we'll hit up some quick questions. You can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can post them on the Facebook group, Twitter, in Discord. There's a separate Ask Digital Days channel in our Discord. You can check that stuff out and post in there. So Raider81, RaiderBid81, what is something you wished Xbox or PlayStation would improve or change? Mine would be better family management on PlayStation for sharing games and purchases. I wish it was something that compared to sharing purchases using Apple Family Management. I wish that Xbox or PlayStation would improve their controllers, the battery on the controllers.
I have too much of a problem with the controllers. too much. Like the DualSense, like once you knock the light down to dim and you just put the rumble to standard, they're okay for the DualSense.
Yeah, I don't like that Xbox still takes batteries.
Yeah, I did buy the battery pack though.
Yeah,
That works pretty well though.
I did too. I can't like off the top of my head. I can't really think of anything. Like yeah, like the family management thing. I don't have a huge problem with it. Jonathan, my son, my oldest son, and I use it to game share. That's just like dominant console, or what's it called, primary console. That's a little bit of finagling with that with two systems. I know you can't do it more than two. Um, I do find it frustrating, I guess, like from a PlayStation standpoint. I agree with you. Like Angela can't like make an account and sign in and play a game that I own on the console, like with her own ID and earn her own stuff, or like not mess with the file. Like
She can.
it seems to like lock it out or do something, because I think it's because I have two different files because of what I'm doing with Jonathan. Where it's,
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah,
where
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not, my console's not the primary console. Like the
Yeah.
console's in, so like that's a little kind of sucky.
If you can have multiple primaries, that would be nice. If you can have like two or something.
Yeah. So, um, but in terms of like the Xbox thing, now that I own two Xboxes, because like I'm 90% sure that Jonathan, he doesn't have it with him, but we were looking it up. Like my Game Pass subscription will just work on his Series S as well, as long as my Xbox sign in is considered like is always active on the system. So like they seem to handle that a little bit better. But to be fair, Microsoft has been trying to be better at everything just to catch up. So they have to be a little more user friendly.
For me, on a PlayStation, I still think the PS5 store is terrible. Like I know they want you to use the mobile app, but I just kind of want to sometimes look on the console. I think they desperately need to fix the PlayStation store because I feel like it makes you not want to buy things. And I'm sure there is a lot of people that don't have the PlayStation app on their phone. Like I've definitely looked at the PlayStation app on my phone because I'm running out of space because I'm a crazy person who has too much stuff on their phone. To where I look at the PlayStation app, I'm like, maybe I uninstall this, but it's like the only way for me to interact with the store because I can't do it on the console without getting frustrated. But I think that's really the only thing on PlayStation. And on Xbox, I have a very specific problem. You can only do HDR at 4K. You can't do HDR if you're playing like 1440p or if you're on a 1080 monitor. Like, I don't have a 4K HDR monitor. I have a monitor that does HDR, but at a different resolution that isn't 4K, and the Xbox will only give you 4K, or will only give you HDR if your resolution is set
So
going to a 4K resolution.
Can't play in HDR because your monitor doesn't support 4K.
Yes, yeah, which sucks. And so my monitor does have built-in HDR, like
Checkerboarding
light
or whatever.
Yeah. It has the ability to like mimic HDR, but it's not going to be as good as native HDR. It's just frustrating. I wish they could set that out. Especially a lot of games run at 1440p on Xbox, so it would be silly for it not to do that. The PS5 has no problem detecting that my monitor does HDR, but like that's on my TV. My Xbox is on my monitor, so I wish they would figure that. It's a very specific problem that affects me, but it has me looking at 4K HDR monitors now.
I think that they just feel like if you have a monitor like that, you'd just be playing on PC, right? Like I think that's their thought.
Yeah, or I think they built it mostly for TVs, and they're just like, well, every TV's 4K now.
And they built it mostly for TVs because they have the Microsoft Store on PC.
Yeah. And then for me, it's just like, well, I'm using it at a desk on a monitor.
Right.
And I found a monitor that I really like that happens to be 1080p and HDR. So I'm screwed. So that's annoying. That's what I would fix.
All right. Justin Duncan writes, what mobile game consumed a lot of your time now or in your past? Mine was The Simpsons Tapped Out. I don't engage with mobile games that much or at all. And the ones that I probably would be are the ones that you just shake your head. Like I'd like immediately comes to head is like Farkle and Flappy Bird.
Oh wow, yeah. I don't know what the first one is, but I know what the
Farkle is like a dice Yahtzee game.
Oh, okay. For me, Marvel Puzzle Quest, I feel like I played that for years. It's just like a match game, but it has Marvel heroes and you unlock different heroes for it. I played that religiously for probably like 3 years, to where like every week I was making sure to like unlock the latest hero or the latest comic with how they did stuff. Threes was a game that I played a lot, and that's also just like a math puzzle game. And then there was a zombie game, which I forget the name of. I'm trying to like frantically look it up now, but it's like several years old, and I can't find it in my Google Play Store account. But it was just basically it was an overview of a town, and then you basically build fortresses
Oh, like a
to
tower defense tiles thing.
yeah, to where you're just trying to build up your defenses for your town, and then you would send people out to different areas of the map so they can get resources and recruit people. I was super addicted to that. But that's one of those games. Once you beat it once or twice, you kind of are done with it. I know they did release sequels to that game, but they never did anything for me like the original. And then Game Dev Story. I really like that. That's basically you just were developing games and consoles in a like top down like view. It was just a management game basically, and I was really into that for a while because I like management games. But nothing recently has caught my attention on mobile phones.
All right, last question of the night from Matt Lowe. You awake in the world of Elden Ring. Near death lurks every corner. You can summon in any computer character to help you. Who do you choose? Kratos is banned. I immediately thought of Kratos before I finished reading this question when I read it. But
Banning Kratos takes a lot of first options.
Give me my Destiny Guardian then. He can do a whole bunch of other stuff. Give me my Guardian.
Does your Guardian rely on melee weapons? Because that would be an issue if.
No, he doesn't have to. I can make him.
Okay,
I can make a build where he doesn't. So.
Okay, yeah, because eventually he'll run out of bullets if we're talking about being transported to the Elden Ring world. I think I would go Naruto. Since you banned Kratos, I'm going to go with Lady Kratos from Heavenly Sword. Because she's a badass, has a gigantic sword that has kind of a chain on it. So there you go. There's your Kratos aspect. So I would go Naruto, and her world kind of fits with Elden Ring a little bit.
Give me the 4 horsemen from Darksiders.
There you go. That would probably they're probably in the game, to be honest. They'd be so at ease there. So yeah, you'll go. Is there a specific horseman you would want?
The first one. His name is completely skipping my mind right now, but I don't even know why. But like,
yeah. So you got a horseman. I got Naruto. Think we're good because you wouldn't want like a Nathan Drake or anything like that. Because
well, he just regens health automatically, so it's fine.
Yeah, but he brings horrible luck. Like he has the best worst luck in the world, so he would be a nightmare. But I think Naruto could protect me enough. I would hope so.
Oh,
did Cat die in Heavenly Sword?
The horseman's name is Death, I think.
Oh, was it just Death?
Yeah. You got me
like you're like looking it up, like just trying to figure out. Like I should know this. There's only 3 of them. Yeah. War. Okay. Yeah, War would totally fuck with the Elden Ring world. He'd be into it.
I was like, Death. All right, so that is our show for the week. Quick spotlight: Patreon's bonus episode for February released, and Michael's not on it.
Yeah.
So it's Angela. Angela and I spent about 30 minutes talking about the Uncharted movie. So if you've listened to that, please give us some feedback, especially for Ange. She was also really nervous about podcasting, which is funny. Because I have a couple extra mics, so she was upstairs on a MacBook with a USB mic, and I was downstairs where I am now, like we were recording, because I didn't want to like swing the mic back and forth. Like that sounds like it'd be a pain. I don't have the ability to set up 2 separate mics here without one picking the other one up. So she was like kind of like leaning on the couch. I was like, "Do you want me to hook up a swing arm for you?" She's like, "No." So that was her first time doing that. That actually worked pretty well. So her and I might try some other stuff eventually maybe when she gets a little more comfortable with a microphone in front of her face. She does like to talk, but not with a microphone in front of her face. So
It's a thing you have to build up to and get used to.
So, but please check that out. Please send some feedback on that. Let us know what you think, so that you can help us out with that, as well as any other suggestions you have for content. Maybe next month I'll take it off, and Michael and Sarah can record or something. Go deep dive into like Final Fantasy or something. So, but or let us know, like, if it's something maybe you guys want to hear them on one of the weekly shows. We are trying to be like a community based thing. I'm sure we might be able to work something out. Especially, I think a lot of people might be interested in Sarah's perspective on Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be kind of cool. So that's the spotlight. If you're not subscribed to the Patreon, consider doing it so you can hear my wife. I'm gonna sell her out. That's fine if you want. And then the socials, you can follow us at Digital Days Pod on Twitter. You can follow Michael at the first MJC. You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt. The Facebook group, Patreon, PayPal, Teesprings, all that stuff is linked in the show notes. Please consider checking them out, subscribing, supporting however you can. Sharing and reviewing the show is the first. Listening and downloading the show is the number one way first to help support us. The freest, easiest way. And then the part that's has a little bit of effort that's free is just sharing it, telling somebody about it, getting some more ears or eyes on the show is always great. And then thinking about leaving a review so that when the random person does find our show and they see there's 120 episodes and there's a handful of reviews, like, hey, these guys might be worth some time. That's all based on the community and based on help. So other than that, I think that is it. I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.